Happy New Year, everybody. I will do first live stream of 2024. First of all, I wish you all a great Happy New Year, and I hope you all had a great time off. And this new year brings joy and prosperous to all of your family. All right, so let's start with the Bitcoin. It's still not open, I think. Bitcoin futures. Let's go to 1 hour chart. Let's see if there are any gaps. I think Bitcoin futures are still not open, so let's see where they're going to be opening. But just remember there's some gaps to the top on 1 hour 44,195, 44,785. If I go to daily chart, you can see there are a couple of gaps to the top, then a couple of gaps. All green lines are the gaps to the fill to the bottom side, red lines, yellow lines are gaps to the fill to the top side. So I'm expecting a pump on Bitcoin. Same thing. Ethereum has no gaps, I think. Go to 1 hour chart, no gap. So let's see around 6 p.m. Eastern, these will open. So let's see if we're going to have some gaps. I think we might because you can see live Bitcoin is pumping. So let's go to daily chart. You can see live Bitcoin is around 43,571, 3.06% pump. But still there's some negative divergence, all right? So you can see here RSI still making lower high. Price is making higher high. This still did not make a higher high. Let's see Ethereum, same thing here. Ethereum also did not make a higher high. So this, because there are some gaps to the top side, expecting Bitcoin to maybe go a little bit higher, make a new high, and then come back down. All right, so go up in a divergence and then come back down. So maybe this week it will go a little bit more higher before it can come down. All right, so I think that would be the most likely scenario. And then support on Bitcoin is well, it's on it's on resistance right now, big area which is around 44K, but can still go higher. And then when it comes back, like I showed you before on Bitcoin live market or futures here, once it fills these two gap around 44,785, 44,195, it can come back and fill this gap around 39,420. That can happen mid to late January or early February. All right. Same thing with Ethereum, looking for this to maybe make a new high or equal high and then eventually come back. On Ethereum, gap is all the way down around 1850. So be mindful of that. All right, VIX daily chart. It uh, it was flat kind of on last trading day of 2023. I think it was Friday if I'm not wrong. So now you can see it's near support. All right. If I zoom out, VIX is near massive support area between 12 and 13 and 11, so still in the support area. All right, so it can expect a bounce anytime here. S&P 500, if I zoom out, you can see this is daily chart and looking for a resistance here. Sold off a little bit on Friday and now near resistance. If I bring in moving averages, so 10 moving averages green line, just finding support there. It could again try to have another back test of this trend line and then go down. So it is possible it can go a little bit more higher and then come down. This is the support area. So around 4,500 is where I'm thinking within 7 to 8 weeks, January, February, we should be here. That will be good buying opportunity before we pump higher. Same thing on Nasdaq was down 0.5%, again on support on this 10 moving average. So it is quite possible we could have another pump higher and then come back here. All right. So be mindful of that. SPY. Let's go to 1 hour chart and let me hide these EMA lines just to see if there are any gap. No gaps here. Triple Qs. Oh, there was a gap here which was created. If you watch my video from I think on Thursday, I said there's a gap here. You can see it came all the way down to fill this gap around 408. So you can delete this. This is cash market of Nasdaq. Dow Jones had no gaps, and IWM. There's a gap here around 199, then another massive gap around 193. So it looks like small cap might be getting ready to fill this gap. Since it came so close to filling this gap, so maybe it's going to go fill this gap on Monday, Tuesday, first trading day, and then maybe it will try to bounce higher or it can go down, fill this. So these gaps will definitely be filled, all right? And those gaps on triple Q, you can see there's a massive gap here, 385, then another gap here, 377.97. On S&P 500, the gap is around 455. If I go to 1 hour chart, you can see this gap here. this gap here, another massive gap here around 440. So that could be a nice, also another nice target. Okay, I don't know if it's going to go that way, but all the way down there. But I think this area here around 44.55 is a good support area. So around 4%. If it goes lower from here, it's going to be 7%. So it is possible we could even fill this gap in 2024. So anything is possible. This is a huge gap, definitely going to be filled. You can see huge gap here, huge gap here, huge gap here. All these will be filled, okay? I just don't know when. Maybe it will have another bull run in 2024 and then come back to fill these other gaps. All right, so let's go to crude oil. Let's bring in moving averages. So crude oil is playing games, but you can see made a high and it needs to hold here, right? I'm hoping it's going to try another bounce. You can see it came near resistance here on Thursday and sold off. Now, if it picks up here, if futures will open around 6 p.m. If it picks up and makes a new high, that's going to be very bullish. It faced resistance around this 50 SMA line, yellow line, and it's selling off. But this is where you want to be buying. If it falls a little bit more lower, again, there is support here in this whole area around 69, but I do expect crude oil to have a pump around 80. That's what I'm expecting, and that should help oil miners. CNQ, you can see try to make a new high, but sold off. If I go to 1 hour chart, gap down. Let me hide this moving average. You can see gap down, but there's one gap here all the way down, and there's a gap here. It's right in the middle, so I'm not sure which gap will fill. Are we going higher first, 3% to fill this gap and then coming lower, or are we going lower, 4%, fill this gap and then going higher? I'm hoping it's going to go first higher before it comes lower. But all depends on how crude oil opens this morning. Tomorrow morning. XOM also coming very close to this gap fill around 99 bucks. So most likely it's going to come down, fill this gap before it can go higher. So it can come from here, fill this gap around 0.8%. That's quite possible, and then it can go higher. If crude oil pumps from here, it can pump directly, but I think most likely it's gonna do like this. Tesla found support, almost was down 2.5% on Thursday at one point, but you can see this downward trend line broke out, back tested once, made a new high. Now it has to hold here, okay? So you can see it's still higher than previous low. So if it can hold, it's good. If it fails, it can come all the way down to fill this gap around 239. I can show you if I go to 1 hour chart, you can see this gap is here. So it can come back there, and there's another gap here around here, 224. So my target, if it comes down, I'll be only buying around 224. I'm not interested in buying around 239. All right. Gold, looking for a pullback, exactly what I was thinking. So higher highs, higher lows. So looking for a pullback in this area around 2000, then new high. Silver also flat. I think it's a support area. So I really hope silver will find support and then bounce from here. Natural gas getting a bit of weakness here. Looking for new low and some divergences building on RSI. I don't see any divergence yet. Higher momentum I want to see, but I want to see a new low formed. So be careful on natural gas. Dollar in the buy area, so this should pump. If dollar pumps, gold, Bitcoin, and stock market should go down. So be mindful of that. Gold dollar is looking very bullish here, and Toronto Stock Exchange was flat. Looking for this to top out and then come back down later. Hang Seng Index. Let's bring moving averages. Closed above. It's finding resistance around this red line and yellow line, which is 50 EMA and SMA, daily SMA. But I think it managed to close above all the lines on Friday. So let's see if it can hold here. That will be good. Just remember on 1 hour chart, there are a few gaps here on Hang Seng Index 16671 and then 16170. So if it comes back to fill up one of these gaps, that could be another good buying opportunity. Bond market buy the dip. Any dips? This is TLT. Look to buy. Copper buy the dip. Playing exactly what I was thinking. Any dips? Look to buy. Palladium was down 2% now, still near support area. You can extend this a bit. So still a high low. It really needs to find buyers here, okay? Really needs to find buyers here and needs to start to jump from here. Soya beans in the buy area. Wheat. looking for if any low, it's getting rejected on this 200, this is dark blue 200 SMA line, getting rejected here, struggling to close above that. Attempt 1, attempt 2, 3, 4. Maybe it will go a little lower, get some energy, and then pump higher. All right. Corn making a bottom process here. So this is where I should be looking to buy corn. Sugar was up 6% and down another 6% on Thursday, but in the massive buy area. So looking for sugar to maybe have a new low, and then when we get this new low, actually I need to revise this. So I'm looking for maybe a little bit more lower and then go higher. All right, want to see some divergences building. Apple, okay, let's go to 1 hour chart. Looks like I need to, so this gap is filled. You can see how nicely gaps do get filled. So go back to daily chart. So now it's below, sorry, it's below 20 moving average white line. So now I think next target is around 189. So it's gonna come low, looks like it wants to come lower, fill this gap, and then maybe it's gonna go higher. But for now, it looks a bit weak. Netflix looking for gap fill 472. Microsoft is flat, but there's a gap around 366. Google are looking for this gap fill around 138. Meta, uh, this gap is also still here, 360. So it could still go higher, fill this gap, and then come down, come back down. Amazon, there's a gap around 147. Snowflakes, nothing here. Maybe just chopping around. Just remember the gaps are way lower here, so it's not going to be easy to come all the way down. Nvidia 1 hour chart, this gap is still not filled, so most likely it's going to fill this gap around 500 before it can come down. And AMD also looking very bullish, very overbought short term. Any downwards pressure, these are the gaps 139 and 136 point, sorry, 136.31. Gold miners, Newmont mine, gap down, next target 40, looking for that gap fill. GDX, no gaps or downside all the way down. I don't think it's going to come that way, that much down, but look to buy. I think gold will show a little bit weakness if it comes back down. Worst case, if it comes to this gap fill, that's going to be a good buying opportunity, almost 8% down. So that could happen. Sector wise, tech sector, uh, mostly will do what triple Qs will do, but eventually this gap, keep an eye, 183. Energy sector, it could come down, but it can bounce anytime. If crude oil bounce, XLE will bounce. XLV holding this trend line very nicely, so nothing to be worried about. Utility sector also on this trend line. Look to buy all the dips. Gap fill 62.44, that could be good to buy. Industrial sector also 112.63. Look to buy on this gap fill. Real estate sector also looking pretty bullish. Above all moving averages, nothing to worry about for now. Financial sector also above all moving averages, pretty bullish here, but some divergence. You can see new high with divergences on RSI. You can see here new high on divergence. So be careful. KRE look like it wants to fill this gap around 51.38. Uh, let's see what other interesting charts are here. Let's look at Pfizer. Let's go to 1 hour chart. Let me hide this line. I don't need this. So Pfizer, this gap. So looks like this gap is filled. So we can delete this yellow line. And I did create another gap here. So be mindful of this. That couple of another gap here. Wow, multiple gaps. So Pfizer could come down later early this year to fill some of these gaps. So be mindful of that. UNH was also weak. Daily chart. If it makes a new low on divergence, that will be good area to buy. It's doing exactly what I was thinking. Pfizer just look to buy on any of these gap fills. Now it tried to broke out of this trend line, white dotted line, but still holding it here. All right. And that's about it for today. Let me see if anybody have any questions or anybody joined. Okay, let's see. Looks like few people joined. Jeremiah, Happy New Year, man. When it comes to Bitcoin, thanks, Jeremy. Was wondering if you could do a quick check on stock Wolf, WLF, ULF, Wolf, Terra Wolf, down 20%. What the hell? Uh, Let's go to weekly chart. So you can see weekly there's a massive resistance here on Wolf. If you go here, you can see this whole area, okay, and it's not able to cross that. You can see here massive resistance in this whole area. All right, so that's a resistance. So anyhow, so let's go to daily chart, and you can see on hourly multiple gaps. There's a gap here. All right, there's a gap here. Go to daily chart. We add indicator. All right, so anyhow, so it's near resistance selling off. Looks like it's going to go fill this gap for sure. 2.23, and it's above all moving averages. That's good. It's making higher highs, higher lows, which is also very good. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So it can even come here. So looks like 2.23 will fill for sure. But if it comes here on 1.65, that will be a good buying opportunity. So it's possible it can come here and bounce. That will be your best scenario, or it can come all the way down here and then bounce. All right. So these are my two scenarios on this stock. But again, this is a big resistance. If it comes again here on 3.5-ish area, look to sell. And stock CAN, can Canon down 17%. Uh, let's go to weekly chart. Not a lot of data here, but got rejected here. So this whole area is acting as a resistance, and there's a support somewhere here. This whole area should act as a support. All right. So this will be a support. Now the good thing is it's building divergence. You can see price made a new low, but RSI made a higher low. So that's very, very good news. That's an early sign of reversal. You can see new low with RSI making higher low. And what you can do is you can draw a trend line to trade this. You can draw a trend line, something like this. All right. Or if I go to daily chart, you can do something like this, or you can even do something like that. You can make a couple of trend lines here. Yeah, something like this is also possible. All right. And you can see it's trying to come back to support area. There's also a gap here that's bothering me. If I go to 1 hour chart, it's a massive gap here. This gap here. All right. I don't know if it's going to come all the way down to fill this gap, but that's possible. Just be mindful of that. But yeah, this is a buy area. Okay. So if it comes back down here, um, look to buy here. All right. Back test of this trend line and then go higher. All right. Cent. Cent is what? Wow. So good news is it's making a divergence, which I like. Divergence, okay. Keeps going lower on higher momentum. Oh wow, it just keeps falling, man. Wow, what a stock this is. Um, so you have to draw a trend line on this. This is like a penny stock, right? So you have to wait for a break of this, okay? The good news is it's making equal highs or lower high with higher momentum on RSI, which is very good news. You have to wait for a break of this trend line, okay? So wait for a break of this trend line, then back test, and then go higher. Until you see a break of this trend line, there is no buy signal. All right. Okay, so hopefully this was helpful. I'm gonna set up my custom indicators, get ready for the trade, which is gonna happen very soon. Market gonna open very soon, so let's get our indicators right. And here you go. So you can see here what happened on Friday. Came to buy zone, bounce. Nice bounce from here to neutral line. Nice bounce. S&P 500 0.5%. Nasdaq, same thing here. Came to second and third standard deviation and bounced 0.69. Dow Jones came to first standard deviation, green line, buy line, bounced. And then Russell 2000 still in the buy zone. It's in the buy zone. Tried to bounce, but still went lower. Very, very oversold. So looking for a bounce very soon on Russell as soon as market opens. All right, guys, enjoy and have a good rest of the holiday. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.